Hello everyone, welcome back to another art time lapse. Today I am doing a keychain piece inspired by Studio Ghibli Spirited Away, in particular No Face. So I'm going to be doing a No Face keychain. It's a fan art piece. I am using Posca markers for the first time. I picked these up. We're so excited to use them, so I want to share with you my experience and my process as I'm going through it. I also picked up these keychains online. I chose a piece of keychain wood that was a little bit thicker than usual. I thought that maybe it will have better durability if you were to wear it and bang it up around your backpack or your tote bag. Beyond the Posca markers that I'm using, I'm also using the Sakura brand jelly rolls to do the white highlights, and these are archival pens, so they should be permanent and be pretty good. I hope to do some more testing on it coming up, but I really love how opaque and easy they are to apply. So here you can see I'm doing dots to kind of locate roughly where the lines will connect, because I'm planning on doing like this glass jar with no face inside. So here, just being really careful, I'm using my Jelly Roll ink pen, just trying to do smooth lines with one smooth sweep. I feel like there's a lot of pressure, especially when I'm being video. I always get really self-conscious when I paint. I, however, do want to show you the process and show you that it doesn't always go as smoothly as I would like. It's never on first try that it looks perfect, and I just want to show you the process. So here you can see it didn't really work out in the beginning, so I had to use a little bit of wet wipe just to wipe off some of the ink off. And let me tell you that this permanent marker, the jelly roll, it does wipe off easily, especially when it's wet and recently applied, but once it dries it is a lot harder to remove. So here I'm just using a marker to lightly mark where I want the line to be. I usually like to paint right on my pieces rather than using pencils or anything to just sketch out where things will be. I just hope that what I paint, where it lands, what will be will be. Of course, this does take a little bit of experience over time, which is why I'm doing these YouTube videos, so you guys can have a chance to look at my process of how I am growing as an artist. I also have these Pastilla pens that I picked up in Japan. I believe it was at Daiso. I do find that they are not as opaque and smooth compared to the Posca pens that I picked up. Just thought I'll provide that little insight if you're curious. So here I do need to let it dry a little bit. I do find that Pastilla pens are a little bit more moist, so there is a longer drying time, and I do find that the paint doesn't dry as smooth. Perhaps it's because the Pastilla pen was a little bit older and I just got my Posca pens, so that could be a reason. Here for these acrylic markers that I'm using, I find that they are very easy to use and so easy to have really precise details, as opposed to using a paintbrush with acrylic paint. I also see this being so hassle-free, more mess-free, especially if you're planning on painting outdoors or going to local coffee shops. It's just so convenient to have acrylic paint out of a pen, as opposed to bringing your little jar for water and your paintbrushes. It's just so hassle-free, so I love that. The only con I think, or one of the cons I foresee, is that you can't really mix the colors and create that dilutional transitional effect that you might get with acrylics. But while it's still moist, you could technically blend two colors together, but I think it'll be difficult. So as a result, you'll find that a lot of these acrylic markers come in sets of so many color options, so many variants on it, because it's really hard for you to mix these markers one-on-one. So they come with all these intermediate in-between colors in different shades. I started off with roughly around 8 markers, and I tried to limit the number of markers I purchased just so I kind of have a general color scheme, and also not to go too much over budget, because I wasn't sure how much I'm gonna love these Posca markers or not, so I wasn't really sure, so I didn't want to splurge too much on it. But I must say, so far I'm really loving it. But I think I do need to spend a little bit more time with it to see like how the colors last with repeated use, how often like do I need to purchase these, because like I think these are 3 ml volume, so it depends on how much you paint. But for little keychains like this, I think it was like really a perfect choice to use it, and I foresee this being a really good introduction for people who are intimidated with the idea of painting, because I think like using a marker is just so much more easy and more relatable. So I think this is a great option for people who are just like dabbling into art again, or doing like miniature pieces that require very refined detail. So in case you're curious, there's different like width for each of these markers. I think this is like the fine point one, that's like 0.9 to 1.2 for the width of the marker. So I'm using this blue color instead of like black for no face. I just thought that would be really cool, a different shade. And then in order to get paint out of these markers, you do need to pump it initially, so the paint kind of transition into the nib at the end, or else the paint stays within the canister inside the pen. These pens are plastic, so they're not super heavy and quite lightweight. I'm using this brown color to outline the details. They do have black color as well available, but I just thought that brown is such like a kind of warmer, fun tone, and not as like, I guess, distinct and defined as black. So I chose to use brown as my outliner for this. So you can see I'm using my fingers on my left hand to kind of hold down the keychain while I paint, so that it doesn't shift around. So I foresee this being maybe a little bit more difficult for younger kids to do, because it does require you to be like very good, your dexterity of your fingers and like technique. Maybe like it'll be really good for adults or like university or college students to do as like a fun craft on the side. Later on, I'm gonna zoom in and give you a closer look at how the piece looks like. I understand it's a little bit difficult to see, especially my hand in the way, just because like the piece is so small, and I'm just trying my best to make sure that I get all the details right. Right now I'm going back with my Sakura Jelly Roll. Again, it's an archival ink pen that you can pick up at your local art store. I think they have it available on Amazon and also like stationery stores and Staples and such, and they come in many different colors. I picked up the white one because I think it's like so versatile, great for adding highlights and such. It's essential for a lot of my pieces, regardless if it's like something that's done on wood or like on paper, and I use it as a mixed media on top of acrylic gouache as well. It's just like such a handy piece to have. It's also one of the must-haves and like the stationery items and art supply items that I always recommend on my art supply haul as like totally worth trying out if you haven't already. So here I'm using my white Sakura Jelly Roll to just add in the white for the face of No Face. I should mention for these jelly rolls, they also come in different like width. There's like ones that are a little bit more fine point, the ones that are a little bit thicker. So pay attention to the number on your jelly roll when you're picking them up. And then a lot of stationery stores actually have like little pads of paper so you can try out what works for you. So the one I'm using right now is the number 8, in case you're curious. So after I finish like drawing this with acrylic markers and inks, I will be adding a seal on top of it just to protect it overall. You can pick up like acrylic seals from Golden or lots of different brands online or at your local art supply store or Amazon as well. The other seals you could potentially use is something like Mod Podge, which have like glossy versus matte seals as well. So those are things to kind of consider beyond just painting on a wooden keychain, thinking about like the durability of it, how to preserve that piece of artwork. So here I'm almost wrapped up. You can see I'm adding a little bit of white highlight to show that little bit of sparkle off the bottle, and also signing it with my initials as well. So here is a closer look at the piece. I'm adding on a seal. Of course, I applied the seal after all the acrylics have fully dried, and it's a very light layer, so nothing like super thick, and it dries like clear. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me on this video on this no face keychain. Hope you enjoyed it. Well, bye for now, and hopefully I will see you next time in another video. Take care, stay safe and creative.